Hello, it's me from the song. Okay, my name is okay. My name is Angela Stevens. I'll be talking to you about smartphones. My opponent's claim was that smartphone use has a significant negative effect on human health. His three supporting claims were: 1, radio frequency radiation emitted by cell phones increase the risk of brain tumors. 2, the high energy visible HEV light emitted by cell phones cause long-term eyesight damage. And 3, cell phone use leads to sleep problems. Now, to start off, my opponent claimed that children have double the risk of getting brain cancer or other health ailments because of cell phone use. Now, I had a problem taking this claim seriously because there wasn't any statistical evidence for an increase in brain cancer or other related illnesses for children. He also referred to a study that showed a 40% risk increase for adults of brain cancer after 1,640 hours of cell phone use. Now, if this is true, probably everyone in this room has a 40% increase of brain cancer. Now, it wasn't clear if he was talking about if this is like, you know, if you've had 1,640 hours like total in your lifetime, you're going to have an automatic like 40% increase, or he could have meant if you're continuously on your cell phone for this amount of time. He could have meant if in a month if you use this much, or if a year. Basically, the information was not clear. Now, my opponent also stated that there is an increased metabolic activity when people are near a phone's antenna. He stated this, but he failed to eliminate why this is bad for our health. I mean, again, when I hear metabolic activity, I'm thinking Arby's, roast beef, yet again. So, you know, please explain to me why this is bad. Now, my opponent's second claim was that the high energy visible HEV light emitted by cell phones cause long-term eyesight damage. Yes, probably, I didn't have anything problem with that claim. So third, he claimed that cell phone use leads to sleep problems. Now, 1, he failed to give any supplemental information to explain why sleep problems are detrimental to our health. And he also said that cell phone users spend an average of 8 minutes less time in the deep stage of sleep. The problem with this is that it's such a small amount of time that no one would take any measure to curb their cell phone use at night. I mean, if we're only in the deep stage of sleep maybe for like an hour or something like that, maybe 8 minutes isn't really that big of amount of time. Now, it could be, but it wasn't explained that way. Now, in conclusion, my opponent did have a very good speech, but failed to prove that cell phones have a significant negative effect on human health by, 1, failing to offer more well-explained material and to put his information into context. Thank you.
All right, well, the setup of the argument is pretty clear. We can see what your issues are. On the first point, you basically are suggesting that there's an inadequate proof for the point. They say there's no statistical information. That's okay. But you do follow up with a study that says there's a 40% risk. So there's no statistical information that's specific to kids. That's the real argument there. And then I thought that you had some reasonable presses on this 40% statistic because it doesn't identify what the basis of that 1,640 hours is. Is that over a lifetime? Is it continuous use? I don't know who could be on the phone for that long. You know, I don't know how many years that would be. That would be a long phone call. But the idea is that there's an accumulation on this sort of thing. I do think that you have a good point, which suggests that everybody would probably be subjected to this, and Therefore, one of the arguments ought to be that we should see some data on this in sociological, or what's the term I'm looking for? Epidemiological research. It should show up in the population. Since we have people who use cell phones frequently, we should be seeing a spike in brain cancers. Have we seen such a spike? I think that would be a good way to address that issue more directly. That requires some additional research, and I think that would have been a stronger answer. I think the answer that you had would be the one that you should be able to give almost immediately after the advocate spoke. So if you had to get up and answer immediately, I think you've got the right press there. But given a little bit more time, which you had, I think it probably would have behooved you to maybe make a little bit extra effort to do some research on that particular point. Second point, you just give up on. You say, okay, that's true. And I don't know how significant it is. I don't know. Apparently, we're all going to go blind, or we're going to have eye strain, or what is the impact here? I don't remember what the advocate said. You don't explain, and you don't attempt to diminish it at all. So if that is, in fact, a significant point, and you grant that, then the advocate has met their burden, and there's no reason that we should need to continue the argument that it does have a significant negative effect on us. That's why I think you need to give us a little bit more context and a little bit more information. If this was a chain argument, maybe you'd get away with ignoring that particular point. But since it apparently was a separate harm issue, there ought to be some answer to it, even if it's just a press on the evidence there. Maybe there's no doubt that it has some negative effects, but how significant are the negative effects? And again, I don't know. I don't remember what the argument was originally. You don't recap it in much detail, and I don't know what counter argument you could make on that particular point. I thought that you did a better job on that third point, suggesting that some lost sleep is not necessarily automatically harmful to any particular measurable degree. I think that's a good press here. It says, let's assume that their premise is correct, that you get 8 minutes less of the deep sleep. Well, how significant is that? What is the consequence of having 8 minutes less of that type of deep sleep? Do people, have some substantial harm? And you point out legitimately that there's not even an explanation of how much deep sleep a person is supposed to get at any particular point. So 8 minutes out of an hour, if you're only supposed to get an hour each night and you lose 8 minutes, well, that's a pretty good chunk of it. But if you're supposed to get 5 hours of deep sleep every night and you lose 8 minutes of it, I'm not exactly sure that it's anything that we should worry about too much. I thought that was a reasonable press on that point. All right, thank you.